We all know that transitioning to a renewable energy system is key to tackling climate change. But while governments, industry and businesses are working hard to produce future clean energy solutions at scale, lowering the carbon footprint of current energy forms is also a prime focus.
Equinor have decided to be a world-leading producer of oil and gas with low CO2 intensity. So we have worked very systematically with reducing our carbon footprint, and now we're seeing very good results. Since 2008 we have implemented 550 different energy measures across the Norwegian continental shelf. That has reduced our CO2 emissions from 8.8 million tons of CO2 to 7.4 million tons of CO2 per year.
That 1.4 million tons of CO2 saved is equivalent to the yearly energy use of nearly 170,000 homes.
One of the easiest ones was actually drinking water production at the Statfjord field. So we're saving 4,800 tons of CO2 per year, and that's equivalent to 2,400 cars. A more complex measure we did at the Åsgård field, where we revamped 2 compressors. So they are now operating in a much more efficient way.
One way to save large amounts of CO2 emissions is to reduce flaring, a process by which excess gas that can't be exported or re-injected is burnt off.
The thing we're most proud of is actually the flaring reductions. So in 2008 we were flaring roughly 1.2 million tons of CO2, and this year looks to be around 365,000 tons. So a massive undertaking by all our teams across the Norwegian continental shelf.
These changes make a big difference. On the Norwegian continental shelf, oil and gas is produced at roughly 8 kilograms of CO2 per barrel. That's less than half the global average. But it's not just the little bits. Bigger projects are on the horizon that are setting new standards. Equinor's Hywind Tampen, with 88 megawatts of renewable floating offshore wind capacity, will electrify offshore oil and gas platforms. This means supplying Europe's gas demand in the future will use less carbon.
The Hywind Tampen wind farm will be a fully integrated part of the energy generation system in the 2 oil and gas fields, working together with the existing gas turbines on the 2 platforms. By summer we hope to be producing electricity from the Hywind wind farm.
However, with the field needing constant power demand, and with wind speeds fluctuating significantly, the Hywind Tampen engineers had to innovate.
So one of the key success to Hywind Tampen is how do we enable the operators in the 2 fields to run with as low spinning reserve as possible, with providing them with good energy forecasts.
Which means the longer Hywind Tampen's turbines spin, the less gas is needed to power the fields, and more CO2 is saved.
On the low carbon journey that we've been doing, we've learned a lot, and that we are now sharing with our partners globally.
There is no one silver bullet when it comes to achieving net zero, but rather, as Equinor's efforts prove, many small things can make a big difference, and that in the energy transition, there is still room for everyone to be a carbon hero.